Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates. This last weekend I got a chance to attend the Battlefield 5 capture event here in Stockholm, where we got 2 days of full gameplay from Battlefield 5's multiplayer, trying out all the maps, weapons, game modes, progression and all that kind of stuff, to give us an idea of how this game will be at launch, simply put. I did get the chance to try out the single player part, the war stories, a few weeks earlier, and I've already made a video on that, so if you're interested in hearing more about the single player component of the game, I would recommend going back and checking out that video. The only single player we did play during this event was the prologue, which is I think 10 or 15 minutes maybe, which is something you basically play when you boot up the game, and that prologue is really cool, the way it kind of introduces you to the war and then jumps quickly in between the different battles that goes on around the entire world, giving you a taste for tank gameplay, flying, sniping, and basically all parts of the game, but in just small bite-sized chunks, I guess you could say. But when the game comes out, I'm not sure if you can skip it or not. You probably can skip it, but I would just simply say that you should play it. It's not that long, and it's really cool since you get to see parts of all the maps, all the types of different gameplay, and so on. So what are my thoughts on Battlefield 5? You guys know me, I'm more of a Battlefront than Battlefield fan, and that's nothing that's changed by this. I will still prefer Battlefront over Battlefield because of the gameplay simply fitting me more. But one thing I will say is that for Battlefield 1, I played that maybe a few weeks or a month after launch, and after that I kind of got bored of it, if I'm gonna be completely honest, because I felt like it was a little bit too casual. It did not feel as fun as Battlefield 4 did, for instance, for me. And also, if I want to play a more relaxed and kind of chill game, I would play Battlefront 2. I mean, Star Wars. I would prefer that over Battlefield 1. But this game right now felt like it went back a little bit to how Battlefield games used to be before, where team gameplay and squad gameplay is a lot more core, and you have to actually think about every bullet you fire, everything you do in the game. I mean, I'm no Battlefield veteran. I'm not the best person to speak to how the old games was. Battlefield 4 is the one I've played the most, and by far, and that's the one I'm mostly relating to here. But I did feel like there was a big difference between playing this game and Battlefield 1. And some of the things I brought up during the beta, which is the attrition system, where you have limited amount of ammo, limited amount of health, and so on. For instance, when you spawn, you have one health pack, and once you get damage down to a certain level, like 50 or similarly, you don't regenerate up to full health, but you need to use your health pack to get up to full health. And once you've used that, well, you can't heal up to full health again unless you've got a medic around, or there's a health station somewhere where you can pick up new health packs. So this was something you constantly had to think about when you were playing. Same goes for the ammunition, but they have slightly bumped up the ammunition since the beta, so it's not just 2 magazines anymore, it's a little bit more, which I think makes sense. There was maybe a little bit too much running to the ammo stations in the beta, so I think they struck a better balance right here. As for the actual gunplay, I'm gonna be honest and say that I don't think I've played all the previous Battlefield games enough to give you a good comparison there. All I can say is that I enjoyed it, but I did think that sniping was a little bit too weak. I tried to play Recon a lot, which was something I have enjoyed in previous games, but the damage was a little bit too low in my opinion. At least with the default sniper, I think it did like 55 damage in the chest, so it doesn't even give you assist counts as kill, which felt very underwhelming. I did on the second day, when they unlocked all the content for us, play a little bit with the other snipers, such as the car, which was better because at least you did get the assist counts as kill. I think with maybe 70 damage. It obviously depends on the range and so on, but I don't know, the sniping was pretty hard, which might be a good thing. But I also felt like it was very rare that I got sniped, like shot straight into the head or similarly. But the few times I got hit in the chest or legs, I just go behind the corner and heal up, which was still annoying because it wasted my only health pack. But still, I do think the snipers could do a little buff in my own opinion. And what the class I ended up playing 90% of the time, to be honest, was the assault. And I know I should have tried more to play all the different classes, and I did play all the classes, but I just enjoy the assault the most. I think it's the same thing as in Battlefront for me. I like that kind of aggressive playstyle, and most importantly, I liked having all the explosives against the tanks, because there's nothing more annoying than if you're playing as a medic or recon and then a tank rolls up and you can't do anything about it. The support still has a couple of anti-tank weapons, such as the mines and a grenade launcher, but they're not as strong as the assault ones. Or the mines probably are, but you know, it's a mine, it's not that easy to run up and place them. Versus if you are playing on the assault, you actually have a anti-panzer weapon. I don't remember the specific name right now, but it kind of, it's like an RPG, but it loops a bit, because obviously this is Second World War. So if you're shooting from a little bit of a range, you need to actually adjust your aim a little bit for that distance, which made it kind of hard to hit with if you weren't really close, which was really good. I thought they struck a good balance with making it not too hard to hit, but also not OP. There's also a second rocket launcher called the Fiat, which has even more of a curve, making it even harder to hit with. I think it probably does more damage because you unlock it later. But I had a lot of fights where I was on a fairly long range, so I decided to pick the first anti-tank rocket simply because it was easier to hit. And on top of that, you can also have a anti-tank grenade. So with those, you can take out a tank from full health. It depends a bit on the angle and so on. But when you spawn, you have 2 of those rockets. So I figured out after about half the event that you don't actually have the full amount of rockets when you spawn. So if you run straight up to a ammo station and restock, you will have 3 of those, which was enough to take out a tank together with a tank grenade if you hit from a good angle. So that was incredibly satisfying, the times when I actually managed to blow up a tank from full health, basically. Obviously I died a lot of times because they could shoot me or there was people around. And then of course on top of that you have the dynamite, which works like the C4s, where you run up, you put them on the tank, and then you detonate them, and it will usually go out after if you have around 3 dynamites on them. But again, that's the time where I died even more, because you gotta run up to the tank, and obviously they're gonna try to shoot at you. But a few times I managed to wipe out the tank completely with dynamite, which was very satisfying, seeing those kills come up in the feed. And also one thing that I thought was really fun was trying to shoot down airships with those rockets. I mean, you can imagine how hard that was. And the most annoying thing is that we actually got a chance to try Panzerstorm, a DLC map coming out, and we were not allowed to record that because it won't be released until in December. But that specific map, I did manage to shoot down a plane with the rocket, and I was like, no, I can't record this. Incredibly annoying, but I know that's something I'm gonna be doing once the game is out, because if there's no tanks around, you don't have much use for those rockets. They're not the best for infantry, so I don't mind trying to shoot down planes with them. And also, if you do manage to hit that, that's gonna be a pretty epic clip that you've pulled off. So what about the game modes and maps then? Well, game mode wise, I think my 2 favorites were definitely Conquest and Breakthrough. Conquest, well, you all know what Conquest is. The big, large game mode where you can go to whatever capture point you want together with your squad to capture it. And that's really why I liked it so much. It was sometimes really hectic, where everyone was at one point, and sometimes you could go around to the edge of the map and pretty much capture one of those points single-handedly, because it was abandoned by the enemies. And that's something you don't really get in any of the other game modes, because they're mostly like Galactic Assault, where people get pushed back and forth to a limited set of objectives. So Conquest was probably, well, I'm not tied favorite game mode together with Breakthrough. Breakthrough is a game mode where you have to capture 2 or 3 points within a section, and you need to capture all of them at the same time. So if you go over and capture A, and then you run over to capture B, and the enemies take back A, you gotta go back to A, and it can be back and forth a lot, but you need to get all the capture points at the same time. And then hold them until you kill X amount of enemies, and then you can push on to the next section. So I thought that was a lot of fun, and I played in a squad with Polski and Figen, so we were always like, should we really run over to the other side? Everyone is always doing that, so we usually stayed at the point that we just captured and defended it, instead of just abandoning it, so it would be an endless loop of running back and forth, if you know what I mean. So this game mode is more like Galactic Assault in terms of the gameplay intensity, and also a lot more people cramped up. So Conquest was obviously the more open one, and Breakthrough was the more intense one. Grand Operations, I've gotta say, I'm not a huge fan of. I think it's a bit annoying with the days, and some of the game modes, such as the one where you need to plant the bombs. I don't exactly remember name of that one, but it was in the beta as well. I don't like it at all. It felt very unbalanced on most of the maps, and having these different days were overall confusing for someone who isn't super read up on the how the mechanics works. So ground operations for me is something I'll probably not play a lot when the game is out. I'm gonna stick to Conquest and the Breakthrough. And on top of that, there is a ending part to the ground operations, which is called Final Stand, which is like a mini battle royale, because you got one team against another team, and if you die, you're out, and then the zone gets smaller and smaller. But the thing is, we never naturally got to the last stand. I don't know exactly when that triggers. I think it is when you win 2 days each in the ground operations. So they basically triggered last stand for us just so we got a chance to try it. And I thought that was a lot of fun. I would gladly play Last Stand as a standalone game mode. Because, well, you can revive people. And you will see me in some points here where I'm literally seeing 10 people down in front of me. And I'm kind of panicking because I don't know what to do. I was playing the medic here actually because I realized how important reviving is in this game mode. But then I ended up dying anyways because we had like so few people left. But I thought it was a lot of fun. Basically like a battle royale with teams in Battlefield, and I can only imagine how Firestorm is going to be when that releases next year. So I really hope Last Stand will be a standalone game mode, especially considering how rare it's going to be to actually get that in ground operations. I mean, we played it, like I said, I think we played 3 or 4 full ground operations rounds, and we never got Last Stand triggered. So yeah, it's not going to happen that often, because it felt unbalanced overall, the ground operations, as compared to Conquest, which was incredibly even pretty much every time we played. Like, there was a lot of Conquest matches where there was literally 5 tickets in one direction that caused them to win or lose. And as for the maps, I thought they were all really good, but the maps from France were definitely my favorites in terms of look. They were absolutely stunning, and just shows the beauty of the Frostbite engine. But all of the maps overall were good for different things. For instance, Hamada was a very open map that was fun for tank gameplay, but not something you would run around on the ground and try to shoot people with a shotgun, you know? So they've got a good mix of different kinds of maps that caters to different types of gameplay, simply put. So some maps shotgun will be viable, some maps sniper will be viable, and some maps you should probably try to stick in a tank if you can. And when it comes to vehicles, I honestly didn't use them a lot, because I prefer being on the ground and I prefer destroying the vehicles. So I blew up a lot more tanks than I killed people in a tank. It was fun to be in a tank, especially when you were a squad, so you could cover different angles and so on. But I just prefer to be the one destroying the tanks, if I'm gonna be honest. And flying, yeah, you know me and flying. We don't go hand in hand. So I tried flying once, crashed. I tried flying the second time, got so frustrated with the controls that I literally jumped out and killed myself. And then I realized I'm never gonna fly again in Battlefield. That's about my feelings about it. But I think the flying overall seems to be good for those who like it. Polsky was flying around and getting a ton of kills, bombing people in the Norwegian Alps, and I was just standing on the ground trying to give him directions and yeah, telling him where to bomb, basically. So that went very well, and I think those of you who like flying in Battlefield, you'll probably enjoy this as well, as I haven't heard any complaints about it. It simply just isn't for me. I just don't understand the controls at all, and I suck at flying. Simple as that. And one last thing I wanted to discuss a little bit was the progression system of how it works with the different weapons and so on. And I gotta say, it's a bit confusing at first, but I'd like the fact that you choose different specializations for the weapons, where it's not just, oh, it's gonna be better, but you gotta choose between, oh, do you want it to be a long-range weapon, short-range weapon, hip fire, aim, and those kind of things, which will really cater to your playstyle. And if you're not happy with that, you've gotta pay the company coins to actually reset your specialization and go through the tree again. So it's not something you can just instantly swap out like in Battlefront, where you can just swap between any of the attachments, but you gotta actually commit to the different specs you are picking. And then obviously you can buy all the cosmetics for the weapons, and you can also unlock them by playing the weapons and going through this kind of unlock tree and so on. And as far as I understand, they won't actually have microtransactions when the game launches, but the thing is, it's only going to be cosmetic when it arrives. There is the Battlefield coins that you can buy for real money will only affect the actual cosmetics. So basically like Battlefront 2 is now, and how Battlefront 2 should have been at launch. They probably learned their lesson from Battlefront 2 because they realized if they would have it affecting gameplay, well, you would have Battlefront 2 launch 2.0, which they obviously don't want. So the progression system was slightly bit confusing, I would say, but still something that seems to be good in its core. And that has a good different paths you can go depending on which playstyle you have. But I think that was all I wanted to say about Battlefield 5. And will you be seeing more Battlefield 5 on the channel? Probably not videos so much, but streams definitely. When the game releases, I'm planning to stream it quite a bit. And you guys seem to enjoy the beta streams, so I figured why not stream some more when the game is actually out. Obviously Battlefront 2 will always take priority, especially when there's new updates out, but it's nice to have some other games to switch to whenever there's not much happening for Battlefront 2. But it's for video content, I leave that to the bigger guys like Westy, Flakfire, and everyone else who knows more about the game, simply put. And I'll simply leave you with my thoughts here, and then I will play it during the live streams. But yeah, that is all for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the force be with you.